Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. It's your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any Watchbox platform. Reach out to me directly for pricing, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a model that debuted for 2019 based on the 2017 GPHG Men's Watch Prize winner. This is the Bulgari Octo Finissimo Automatic Middle Eastern Edition. 40 millimeters in titanium. The watch is only 5.2 millimeters thick as I measure it, and from lug to lug, 46.5 millimeters with a 30 millimeter spacing between its lugs. Throw it on the wrist, and I have to admit this watch is otherworldly, and it's always been that way. In titanium, and not just thin, but truly freakishly thin, the watch disappears underneath the cuff, and even from the mind's eye, it's easy to forget you're wearing it. And the timepiece truly does cut a low figure. You can see almost flush with my wrist, it's disappearing already under my sleeve. I'm gonna have to pull my sleeve back so you can see the down the barrel shot. Now the watch is nowhere near the edge of my wrist. I could recommend this watch, though it's a 40 millimeter, for a wrist as small as 13.5 centimeters circumference, and all in titanium. It is very light. The bracelet, like the case, and even the dial of the watch, is made of titanium. All of this is media blasted finish, which I found actually ages better than polish or satin, so it likes to hide marks that might be caused in the course of wear. You can see bars are used for fixing the removable links, and there are many small removable links, so sizing this precisely is not difficult. You can also see that the bracelet has 3 dimensions with some recesses at its center, and then it's smartly constructed so that there's also a little revetment inside the trailing links adjacent to the clasp, and so the clasp actually folds flat into the bracelet just like that, and it does that on both sides. And that's part of the brilliance of this watch. Every single component, including the clasp, including the thickness of the clasp, has been taken into account. Now, Bulgari claims 110 facets on this case. I've never counted them individually, a little bit like the Iron Throne and its number of swords. You simply have to press the I believe button and enjoy, but it certainly is striking. The juxtaposition of the curves and the creases and the angles and the arcs, very handsome. And while this is a shape inherited from the old Gerald Genta company, Bulgari has really refined it and made it its own in the modern era. This is now the face of Bulgari watchmaking. You can see there's a double knurled crown, a push-down crown, with a ceramic cabochon outboard. And how do you like the contrast between the faceted geometric inner face of the bezel and the rounded outer bezel with the round sapphire? And that's before we even get to the media blasted dial, which here, in this Middle Eastern exclusive, available only through Bulgari's Middle Eastern dealers, do you get these lovely green lacquered Eastern Arabic numerals, and they truly are green lacquered. I don't know if they're coming across as black on camera, but they are almost a British racing green when you see them in person. They also have a little bit of height and loft above the dial because they are a very thick lacquer, so they are tremendously handsome and have real presence about them. Mechanically, it's the same as the standard Octo Finissimo automatic, which is to say lots of good things when you open up the case back. The movement is the manufacturer caliber BVL 138. It was engineered and it is built today in the same Vallée de Joux workshop that used to be Gerald Genta and Daniel Roth, a truly high horology atelier. They've created a movement that is 2.23 millimeters thick in the grand tradition of Gerald Genta ultra-thin movements. It's also over 36 millimeters in diameter, so it's properly sized and shaped for both the span and the thickness of the case, and that's the ultimate mark of a true manufacturer. Bulgari also owns dial makers, case makers, bracelet and clasp makers, so they're building everything, not just the movement. Every part of the watch is in-house. There's a platinum, not gold, not tungsten, platinum micro rotor with high efficiency ceramic bearings, 55 to 60 hour power reserve. It beats away at 21,600 vibrations per hour, and it has a full balance bridge that not only better helps to brace the balance against shock, but also adds a little bit of stiffness to the movement structure itself. All of this pivots on 36 jewels, and I should mention that the watch is still 30 meters water resistant. While that may not sound acceptable to those who are familiar with sports watches like Submariners and Seamasters, the reality is that historically these ultra-thin watches generally would build pivot jewels into the case back, which would double as the main plate of the movement, and those watches would often have no water resistance. So the fact that this has 30 is actually an extraordinary feat of engineering. The finish is excellent. There's satination on the wheels as well as the rotor. There's mirrored anglage that is started mechanically, but because it is truly rounded and mirrored as finished, I believe that the end phase of this anglage is completely manual to deliver the bevels that are achieved. There's also lovely Cote de Genève. You can see those are real deep gradient Cote de Genève across the case back, perfectly aligned across bridges. And then there's an engine turning reportage on the base plate with all screw heads black polished. As with the best from Audemars Piguet and FP Journe, the movement is hand assembled, hand regulated, largely hand finished with just a little bit of mechanical execution to start the pieces. It's a truly special watch, and this is one of the most desirable and exclusive variants. Reach out to Tim Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.